Do not spend any money on a Bankrabbit Swarm token. SwarmForge is a disciplined MUX-based agent orchestration platform that turns swarms of AI agents into reliable, professional software engineers. The main branch is documentary. It explains the system and carries the shared operational scripts and default constitution articles. The runnable workflow branches carry the project-facing configurations, role prompts, and local constitution articles that define specific workflows. SwarmForge is an agent coordination system that facilitates communication between agents working in different Git worktrees. It provides a shared structure for role-specific prompts, worktree assignment, MUX sessions, and message passing so multiple agents can collaborate on the same project without stepping on each other. The runnable SwarmForge configurations live on dedicated branches. Each branch contains the SwarmForge conf, local constitution articles, and role prompts for one workflow. At startup, its Swarm wrapper copies the shared operational scripts and shared constitution articles from main when they are not already present, then launches that branch's local configuration. The 2-pack branch is the quick backend workflow. Use it for small tasks that benefit from fast coding without the overhead of gherkin and acceptance testing, while still preserving backend refactoring and hardening. In 2-pack, the coder implements requested behavior with TDD and unit tests. The cleaner batches coder handoffs and performs cleanup, crap and dry review, architectural review, encapsulation and separation of concerns fixes, and language mutation hardening. The normal flow is coder then cleaner then coder. Use this branch when you want a tight implementation refinement loop without specification, QA, propertitest, or acceptancetest roles. The 4-pack branch is the compact specification workflow. Use it for moderate projects that require gherkin specification and some architectural consideration without splitting every quality gate into its own agent. In 4-pack, the specifier turns user intent into precise gherkin acceptance specifications and asks for approval before handoff. The coder implements approved behavior slices with TDD, unit tests, and generated acceptance tests. The refactorer performs behavior preserving cleanup, coverage improvement, crap and dry review, mutation seeder scans, and propertitest support. The architect owns high-level structure, dependency direction, mutation hardening, dry review, soft gherkin mutation, and final completion notification. The normal flow is specifier then coder then refactorer then architect then specifier. Use this branch when you want disciplined development without splitting cleanup, architecture, hardening, and QA into separate agents. The 6-pack branch is the full workflow. Use it for major projects that require full specification, upfront QA, back-end verification, and significant architectural consideration. It separates each major quality gate into its own role. In 6-pack, the specifier turns user intent into accepted gherkin specifications and end-to-end QA procedures. The coder implements approved behavior slices with TDD, unit tests, and generated acceptance tests. The cleaner performs local behavior preserving cleanup, coverage improvement, crap and dry review, and mutation seeder scans. The architect reviews module structure, boundaries, dependency direction, and propertitest coverage. The hardener performs mutation hardening, language mutation, crap and dry verification, and soft gherkin mutation. The QA converts the specifier's QA procedures into executable scripts, runs final user interface verification, checks handoff consistency, and sends completion notifications. The normal flow is specifier then coder then cleaner then architect then hardener then QA then completion. Use this branch when you want each review and verification concern owned by a separate agent. SwarmForge runs locally. Before starting a runnable branch, make sure the target machine has ZSH, Git, MUX, Babashka, and at least one configured agent backends such as Codex, Claude, Copilot, or Grok. In the directory where you want to use SwarmForge, choose a runnable branch and pull its contents without creating a Git remote. For example, set branch to 4-pack and use a command that downloads the archive, extracts it, and strips the top directory. Use branch 2-pack for the quick 2-agent workflow, branch 4-pack for the compact specification workflow, or branch 6-pack for the full 6-agent workflow. Do not use main for this command. Main is documentary and stores the shared operational scripts, while the runnable branches provide the configurations and prompts intended for projects. After copying a runnable branch, start the swarm from the target project by running .swarm. The wrapper keeps the runnable branch small. On first use, if SwarmForge scripts is missing, it downloads the main branch archive, copies the shared operational scripts, stages shared constitution articles, and then launches SwarmForge scripts SwarmForge sh. Later runs reuse the existing local scripts directory instead of overriding it. The windows should open automatically. To stop the swarm, close the first window listed in SwarmForge conf. That cleanup window shuts down the tmux sessions and closes the remaining tracked windows. While a swarm is active, SwarmForge tries to prevent a host from sleeping. On Mac OS, it uses caffeinate. On Linux, it uses systemd inhibit when available. Display lock or manual sleep can still interrupt agents depending on the OS. Set SwarmForge prevent sleep to 0 before running .swarm to disable this behavior. SwarmForge is a lightweight, MUX-based orchestration layer that launches a config-driven swarm from a project local SwarmForge conf. It creates one MUX session per configured role and opens a terminal surface for each role when the selected backend supports it. It reads behavior from project local SwarmForge roles role prompt files plus a layered SwarmForge constitution prompt. It supports parallel backends such as Claude, Codex, Copilot, or Grok. It puts the shared SwarmForge scripts directory on each agent's path, including handoff helpers for active swarm communication. It creates Git worktrees under worktrees for roles assigned to dedicated worktree names. It initializes a Git repository and a new working directory when needed. It keeps all swarm state local to the working directory in SwarmForge. Core features include config-driven topology, project local roles, layered constitution, backend selection per role, observable swarm with one terminal window per role, and a self-hosted lightweight local run. Each runnable branch contains a SwarmForge directory with a general layout. The constitution prompt is the entry point. Runnable branches normally use it to tell agents to read every file in SwarmForge constitution articles. Shared default articles live on main under SwarmForge constitution articles like engineering, handoffs, and workflow. At startup, SwarmForge installs missing shared articles into the runnable branches constitution articles directory before creating role worktrees. It also installs missing shared articles into each role worktree during script synchronization. Existing local files are skipped, so a runnable branch can override a shared article by committing an article with the same file name. Pack-specific additions and exceptions should use explicit local file names rather than editing shared articles. Current conventions are project prompt for the workflow's project shape and local topology, local engineering prompt for workflow-specific engineering rules, and local workflow prompt for workflow-specific flow rules. The local prompt naming convention means add to or specialize the shared default article for this runnable branch. Do not use local prompts for a full replacement. Use the shared file name instead. For example, main can provide a shared workflow prompt, while 6back can add a local workflow prompt for QA-specific handoff behavior. If a branch needs to replace the shared workflow article completely, it can commit its own workflow prompt. Startup will treat that local file as an override and will not copy the shared one over it. Each role in SwarmForge conf maps to corresponding SwarmForge roles role prompt file. In a runnable branch, SwarmForge reads SwarmForge conf, copies shared helper scripts, terminal adapters, and shared constitution articles from main, installs missing shared constitution articles, validates configured role prompts, helper scripts, and terminal adapters, initializes a Git repository if needed, creates one Git worktree per configured role under worktrees unless the role is assigned to master or none, syncs SwarmForge scripts and missing shared constitution articles into each role worktree, puts that local scripts directory on each agent's path, creates tmux sessions, opens terminal windows, launches each configured backend, starts a no-specific sleep inhibitor, and stops it with a swarm. Roles communicate through demon-delivered handoff files. Agents create validated drafts with swarm handoff sh, accept work with ready for next sh, and complete work with done with current sh. The handoff protocol uses shared helper scripts in every role worktree. Agents do not send MUX messages directly. The launcher starts handoff BB, which owns tmux socket access, launches each agent outbox, copies validated handoff files into recipient inboxes, and sends only generic wake-up notifications. Agents interact with handoffs through 3 helper scripts. Swarm handoff sh validates and queues outbound handoffs, ready for next sh accepts work, and done with current sh completes the current task. Outbound drafts use one of 2 message types. A Git handoff points the recipient at a committed state. The commit abbreviation must be exactly 10 hexadecimal characters. Swarm handoff sh validates that it resolves to a single commit and canonicalizes it before queuing the handoff. A node is one short free-form message. The helper generates the delivered payload. Recipients run ready for next SH when notified or after restart. It dispatches to the task or batch helper configured for that role. If it prints no task, they stop waiting for work. If it prints task path, they treat the printed task name and payload as the task. If it prints batch path, they process the printed batch entries in helper delivered order. If a wake-up arrives while an agent is already working, it can ignore the wake-up, done with current SH checks for the next task or batch after completing the current work. The durable handoff files and lifecycle headers replace the old logbook and resend queue. Runtime handoff state lives under SwarmForge handoffs in each worktree, with outbox, send, failed, and inbox subdirectories. Agents should not handle it, merge, stage, or commit handoff runtime state. SwarmForge conf defines the swarm window. The window. Each line has the form, window role agent worktree, task batch, extract layers. The optional receive mode defaults to task. Use batch for roles that should consume all currently queued equal priority handoffs as one batch. Any fields after the receive mode are passed directly to the agent CLI as additional arguments. If you omit the receive mode, extra arguments may start at the fifth field. You can define as many windows as your project needs. Each role maps to a corresponding prompt file at SwarmForge roles role prompt. If a project needs architect, coder, reviewer, research, and release windows, expect corresponding prompt files. This lets each project choose its own swarm shape instead of being locked to a fixed set of roles. An example config lists several windows with their agents and worktrees. In the example, the coordinator runs on the main working directory on master and is the cleanup window because it is listed first. The coder runs in the worktrees coder worktree, the refactorer in worktrees refactorer, and the architect in worktrees architect. If a window uses master as its worktree name, SwarmForge does not create worktrees master. That role runs in the main working directory on the master branch. SwarmForge uses a project-specific tmux socket recorded in SwarmForge tmux socket, so each project swarm is isolated from other tmux sessions. It also honors tmux busindex and panabusindex settings when launching agents and sending notifications, so configurations that number windows or panes from one work without requiring users to change their tmux preferences. SwarmForge opens trackable terminal windows or tabs through a small terminal backend adapter. Default detection. If Apple script is available, it opens Mac OS terminal app windows. Otherwise, if wt.exe is available, it opens Windows terminal windows. Otherwise, it attaches the cleanup tmux session in the current shell. After copying a runnable branch, you can override detection by setting SwarmForge terminal. Use Ghosty when you want SwarmForge to open Ghosty tabs instead of the default terminal app windows. Use Windows Terminal when you want SwarmForge to open Windows Terminal windows from WSL. Use None when you want SwarmForge to skip terminal automation and attach the cleanup tmux session in the current shell. The shared terminal backends are carried on main under SwarmForge scripts terminal adapters. Runnable branches copy those scripts at startup. To add a new backend, update main by creating one file named after the backend and terminal adapters. The file must define functions for labeling, detecting ability to open sessions, tracking windows, opening a session, checking if a window exists, and closing a window. If the terminal can open sessions but cannot return stable IDs for open check close, keep the ability function returning success and set the tracks function to fail. SwarmForge will open one surface per session and skip the watchdog for that backend. If the backend cannot open sessions at all, set both capability functions to fail. SwarmForge will attach the cleanup tmux session in the current shell. Only edit the main terminal adapter script when adding aliases or changing default auto detection. Each visible agent window is attached to a tmux session. That means terminal selection, copy, and paste may follow tmux and terminal emulator rules rather than ordinary text field behavior. If copy or paste feels unusual, check whether tmux copy mode is active before assuming the agent is stuck. The first window in SwarmForge conf is the cleanup window. Closing that top configured window is the intentional shutdown path. SwarmForge tears down the tmux sessions, closes the remaining tracked windows, and shuts down the swarm. Closing any other tracked window is non-destructive. The watchdog reopens that window and attaches it back to the same tmux session, so the agent state and terminal history remain intact. This is often the simplest way to recover a window that has landed in an unfamiliar tmux mode or otherwise feels stuck.